Hello friends, welcome to VDS Tech Lab. Now in this video we'll discuss the details about constructor in Java. What is constructor and how we can create the constructor, what is the rule of creating constructor, how many types of constructor are there. So that we'll discuss detail in this session. So let's start. Okay, now constructor in Java. Let's write here constructor in Java. So what is constructor? Constructor, see, constructor is a block of code. Constructor is a block of code. Okay, similar to the method. It is a block of code just like method. But there is a difference. See, constructor, there are rules of how we can create the constructor. I mean, the constructor name must be same as the class name, and there is no return type in constructor. I'll tell you the return type. Okay, so constructor is a block of code similar to the method. It is called when instance of the class is created. Instance of the class is created means when the object of the class is getting created. Got my? Okay. So at the time of calling constructor, memory for object is allocated. When we are calling constructor, the memory of object is getting created in memory itself. Now, so why we are calling constructor this one? See, why we are calling. Let's take the red one actually. Here. So just write down why we are calling constructor. Why we are calling constructor. So constructor is, see, why we are calling this as a constructor. So constructor constructs the value at the time of object creation and the value of instance variable. The value of instance variable at the time of object creation. It is not necessary to write. Always see, if we are not creating the constructor, it is not necessary to write a constructor for a class. Actually, compiler will create the default constructor if we are not writing. If we are not creating the constructor, then compiler will write the constructor. So this is the reason actually. Now, I'll come with a rule for creating constructor. So first one, constructor name, rules for creating, see, rules for creating constructor. Okay. So see, first one, the first and foremost rule, constructor name must be same as class. Name must be same as class name. Fine. So this is the first rule. And the second rule is, see, the second one is, let's slide this one a little bit. The second one is, constructor must have no return type. There is no return type. There must be no return type. Okay, and because it is related to class, it is related to instance actually. So constructor cannot be abstract. Constructor cannot be abstract, cannot be static, and cannot be final as well. Okay, because this is related to the instance of the class constructor. So two rule is very important. Which one? Name must be same as class name and there is no return type. Okay, now if we go and how many access modifier is applicable. Access modifier is applicable for constructor. Which access modifier is applicable for constructor? So there are these four. This is very important. These four: public, private, and then public, private, protected, protected. And now if we are not explicitly we are not doing public private, then it is considered as default. So these four modifiers are applicable for constructor, access modifier for constructor. Here I can write, because this is very important, for constructor. Okay, now I'll come with one by one with the example. All right, now so this is little about theory part, I can say. Okay, now I'll go one more thing, that types of constructor. Now let's come here as well, types of constructor. This is also important, types of constructor. Types of constructor. Okay, now first one is default constructor. Default constructor, or we can say default constructor, CONSTRUCTOR constructor, or we can say no argument constructor. No arg constructor or no argument constructor. And second one, this is the first one, and the second one is parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. Okay, so parameterized means with parameters. Okay, so this is about the theory part. Now we'll go with the actually how we can write the code related to constructor actually. And the last one I can say the syntax. I will tell you syntax. Suppose this is the class name, class test. Okay, so this is class, and if we are going to write the constructor of this one, so what we have seen, we have seen the rule of constructor. I mean, constructor must be the class name actually, must be same as class name. Now this is nothing but your constructor. This part is your constructor of class test, constructor of class test. Okay, so this is your constructor syntax. Okay, now let's come on Eclipse. Okay, and where we'll see the practical examples. Fine. Now we'll come here. Now I have created already the package. See constructor com.dev.constructor demo, and now here I'll create one class. Okay, so class I'll create first class. I'll create what? The constructor demo. Test one with the public method. Okay, test is already exist. I'll create what? Type 1, TYP test 1. Okay, now finish this one. See, this is having the main method actually. And now if see what we are doing, we are creating one constructor with must test 1. Test 1 is the constructor's name is same as class name. Okay, there is no return type, there will be no return type. And now here I'll print one what? Inside the constructor, CONSTRUCTOR, or this is no or constructor. I can say this is no or constructor because there is no argument in this bracket. So we can say instead of inside constructor we can write no or constructor, no or CONSTRUCTOR, no or constructor. Okay, see how it is getting invoked. Explicitly we are not calling the constructor here. Save this one. Okay, so now what I can do, I'll create the object test1 t1 equals to new test1. See, save this one and now execute this one. See, as Java program, see how it is invoked. Even we we explicitly we are not calling this constructor, but whenever we are creating this object, I mean implicitly it will call. Okay. So this is about your what? This is about your we can say no or constructor or default constructor. Fine. Okay. Let's. If you think that what is the purpose of default constructor, then purpose of default constructor is to provide the default values to the objects. And which objects? What we have assigned here. Let me create another class here itself. Another class I'll call default constructor itself. DEFAULT default constructor CONSTRUCTOR default constructor. This. Okay. Now what I'll do? Default constructor. Now here what I'll do? I'll create the main method first, and now I need to define, like, see, int id. These are the instance variable. And constructor is responsible to initialize these variables actually. Now another variable I'll take string name. Fine. Now what I'll do? I'll do nothing. I'll not create the constructor, because this time we are going to see how the compiler will create the default constructor. Because if there is no constructor, then compiler will create the constructor automatically by default. That is nothing but default constructor actually. Okay. So now I'll create one method here. Method is nothing but display these variables above one, these instance variable system. Now I'll print what? ID and what? ID and name plus name. Now this is fine. So what now? Next what we'll do? Next we'll create the object of this class. Okay. That's why whenever we are creating the object of the class, implicitly the default constructor will be created, and it will initialize the default value of the instance variable. Now see, d1 equals to new what? New default. This is the creation of this way we are creating the object. This is fine. Now d1 dot display. Display is the method that we are calling. Nothing we need to do. We are not assigning. So what is the default value? It will default value will be initialized to these instance variable. What default value? Based on the data structure actually. So if we execute from here itself, see what happens. 0 and null. 0 and null. So default constructor is used to provide the default values to the objects. Objects is nothing but ID and name. Fine. Okay. So we have seen that if there is no constructor in the class, then who is responsible to create the default constructor? Nothing but compiler itself. Compiler will create the default constructor in background. Okay. And that's why, see, even we haven't initialized the value of these one, how it is getting initialized 0 and null. 0 and null base are actually, this is integer, that's why integer default value is 0 and string default value is null. Okay, fine. Now we'll go for next example, and that is for the parameter. This time I'll discuss this is default constructor, and now we'll discuss the parameterized constructor, how we can give the value, by using the parameterized constructor. So see, let's create one more class here in constructor demo here, right, and new, and class itself for parameterized, parameterized, ZED parameterized constructor CONS TRUCTOR parameterized constructor with main method. Click with main method and now finish. Fine. So this one what will do this time? So this is class, and now first of all we'll initialize the what? Initialize the variable itself, instance variable. Fine. So the same instance variable we can define as this one. Copy from here itself. Okay. What? This I'll copy. These are the instance variable. These are the instance variable, and now create the constructor. Create the constructor. So this is constructor. This is, see, we haven't provided any, we did not provide any access modifier. So this is known as default one. Okay, this is comes in the default category. Now we'll give the parameter integer for ID, int ID, and string string name. Okay. So how the compiler recognize that these are the same value? So for that, this will I'll write this way. This dot ID equals to ID. Okay, and this dot name equals to name. Fine. Yeah. So now if we mouse over here, it will go here itself, and if mouse over here, it will go here. So this way the compiler will recognize these both are the same value. Fine. Okay. This is also fine. Now we'll create one method to show these values. Okay. So same method, void display. Okay. Void display. System.out.println. Okay. Now ID plus name. Fine. So this is the method that we can display the name. Now next part is we are going to create, see, this is the class, and we are going to create the what? P1 parameterized PC parameterized constructor equals to name. This is the parameterized constructor, and now this will give the warning, I mean compile time error. What? Because we have created the constructor with parameter, and this constructor we need to provide the argument with the same type. Okay, argument with the same, see, ID and name we need to provide. So ID, suppose ID is 11, and now name is, we can say Raman. Okay, and next one. So this is fine. Now if we call what? If we call PC.display, so this time it will give the value what we have given here, not default one. Right? Now see, execute this one, run as Java application. See, 11 and Raman. Fine. And how many objects we are creating? That many. Let's suppose we will create another object with the same method. Okay. Now another object with reference PC1. Okay. And now here I'll create 12, and here Sham, SHYAM Sham. Okay. Now PC1.display. See, if we execute from here itself, see, this will give the same value. Okay. So this is nothing but your what? Your parameterized constructor. Fine. Now next one, what will give? Will tell you one more next concept, I can say. See, this is your parameterized constructor, and parameterized constructor can be overloaded. Overloading means with the same name, but the argument is different. So see, overloading is nothing but overloading what? The same method name is same, but the argument is different. So this concept is applicable for constructor as well. The name of the constructor is always same, but we can differ the parameter. Okay. Now let's create one more program here. What? New class, and this time I'll calculate constructor overloading. CONSTRUCTOR constructor overloading. Fine. With the main method. So this is the class name. Now minimize this. Okay, remove this one. Fine. Now what I'll do, I'll go for different variable. Okay, first of all we'll declare the like int id and a string 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 name. Okay, now next one I can say anything. There is, I can say int is. So these are the three parameters that we have. Now we'll create the constructor first. So constructor, see, I want to show the overloading. How see, this is the constructor, and here we'll pass two arguments. Okay, now int what? Int id, fine, and string string name. So we can do this way. Either we can apply this, or id equals to id, name equals to name. Fine. See, if we mouse over here, it will go here, and now if mouse over here, this, I mean the same name is fine. Fine. Now okay, so this is also fine. This is two argument. Now we want to overload. Overload means in the same way, see, copy this one, and nothing we need to do, just, and what we'll do, we'll increase one more parameter, and that is nothing but is. Fine. So is equals to is. Fine. So this is nothing but your constructor overloading. This happened, constructor overloading. Now what I'll do, I'll create one method. So that's why to display, see, void void display, see, SYSO. Now id, see, id plus we need to concatenate, then plus what? Name, and plus is. Fine. Okay, now we'll create the object of this one. Next one is we need to create the object. Object is constructor overloading. CO, constructor overloading equals to new what? New constructor overloading. So this one. Now we are bound to pass either two parameters or three parameters. If we pass two parameters, then it will not throw error. See, suppose we are passing here 14, comma, we have passed Rama. Okay, so there is no problem at all. And co dot display. See, and again what we'll do, again if we pass three parameters, then we have already three parameter constructor, three argument constructor. This is parameterized constructor with having three arguments, actually three parameters. So here age is, we can say 36. Fine. And we'll change the co1 dot display. Fine. So everything is fine. So this is your constructor overloading. And now if we execute this program, see, if we run from here itself, see what happens. Why it is giving, why it is not giving 36, even we have provided here in this one. What happens here? It should give s2 dot co dot display. Fine, co1 dot display. If we have provided 36 here, okay, int is, so why it is giving here also pc1 dot co1 dot display. Okay, 14 Rama. What? And it is not recognizing. Why it is not recognizing actually? See, let me change the variable here. Instead of id, I. So what I can do? I'll do id equals to I. id equals to I, and instead of name equals to n. Now if you see, if it is pointing this name, and now it is pointing. So this is the problem actually. So here I'll do the same thing, and at age equals to a. Fine. So here I need to provide a. Now I need to provide name. Okay. Either we need to provide this or this one. So I think now this is resolved. If again we execute this one, see, this is perfect. Now it is giving the right value. So this is nothing but your what? Constructor overloading example. Okay, fine. So now next one I'll discuss the very important actually. See, in the same this is your method, and this also looks like your method, but there is a certain difference. What is the difference between constructor and method? Let me draw. Let me tell you one by one. Go to see. Let's open this one, and I'll tell you what difference between constructor and method. Okay. So this is very important. Generally, it is asked in interview. So I'll write difference between constructor and method. Okay. So there is a very clear difference. So if we talk about constructor, first one, if we talk about constructor, so constructor, what? Constructor is used to initialize the state of an object, initialize the state of an object, initialize the instance variable, you can say directly, to use to initialize the state of an object, or you can say instance variable. Now what about method? Here if we talk about method, so method is used to know the behavior of, used to expose the behavior of an object. So behavior of an object. So constructor is used to expose the behavior of an object. Fine. Now this is the first difference. Second one, I would say, okay. If we talk about constructor, see, constructor must not have return type, no return type. This is very important. And what about method? Method must have return type. Why not why? Must have return type. Must have a return type. Why not why? If method is not written, then explicitly we need to write why. Now the third one, see, constructor, if we are not invoking constructor, it will invoke implicitly by the compiler itself. So construct invokes means calls, invokes implicitly. But method, what about method? Method we need to call explicitly. Fine. Now the fourth one I can say, okay. See, as we had discussed already, that Java compiler provides default constructor if we are not creating any constructor in class. Okay. So what constructor? But in case of method, no. Compiler will not provide any default method. Okay. Compiler will provide what? Default constructor. But compiler will not provide the default method kind of thing. Okay. There is no default method. method provided by compiler. Fine, provided by compiler. Okay, so this is fine. Now the fifth one I can say, the last one, fifth. What? Constructor name same as class name. This is must. Name, I think we had deal this point somewhere. No. Yeah. So name is same as, name must be same as class name. But method, there is no mandatory. There is no, not a mandatory, not mandatory. There is not mandatory. We can have, may or may not. Fine. So this is the difference between constructor and method. Fine. Okay. Now we'll discuss another point. So see, sometime, I mean, this is the little advanced topic actually. How we can copy constructor from one constructor to another constructor. Okay. So we can copy the one constructor to in another constructor by using constructor itself. Okay. And the second one, we can assign the value of one object to another one. This way also we can do. Okay. So I'll show you these two ways, and by one of the method, that is clone. So copy constructor. Next topic is your copy constructor. Fine. Copy constructor. This is also little advanced and very important. Copy constructor. Copy constructor. Copying one constructor into another constructor by using constructor itself. By using constructor. I'll show you practically by constructor itself. And the second one, this is the first one, this is the second one, by assigning the variable, by assigning the value of an object to another one. Assigning the value of one object into another one. Okay. Now the third one I can say, third one by clone. This by one of the clone method is there, that is provided by object class. This method we can use object. As we know, object is the parent class of all class in Java. Parent class of all classes in Java. Okay. So this is that. Now let's go to the Eclipse itself, and here we create one more example, and that is nothing but your what? Copy constructor. I'll create another example. Copy constructor class copy copy constructor constructor. Let me write the full name. Okay, and finish this one, minimize this one. So this is your copy constructor class actually. Now first of all, what we'll do, we'll take any value like ID, okay, and then same string name. So these two are sufficient. Now what we can do, we can create the constructor. So constructor of copy constructor itself, and the name of this one, and we'll make the parameterized constructor. What parameterized constructor means? Int I and string string n name. Okay. So how compiler will know? So ID equals to nothing but I, and name is equals to n. So now this is fine. Now what we'll do, we'll create another constructor. Fine. We'll create another constructor to copy these values in the same constructor. Fine. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll create the same copy constructor. Okay. Now what I'll do nothing. See, this copy constructor itself, in the argument this constructor itself is there. Fine, this constructor itself is there, and now there is a reference variable, I can say C. Fine. And now we need to, what we need to see id equals to c dot see here it is saying, if I'll go id c dot id itself. Fine, c dot id. Now again name again we need to see this one again, see c dot name, so that compiler will recognize. If we see mouse over here, it will go here itself, and now this will go here itself, because both value are same. So in the both constructor we are referring the same value, but the way is different. Fine. Now in the same way we will create the method to display the value. Okay, see this method is returning nothing, that's why return type is void. So that's why method must have return type. Why not void? Okay, display. What I can do, id, okay, plus concatenating we are now plus name. Fine. So again now we can create the object of this class copy constructor. So c1 equals to new copy constructor, and here we'll pass the value. What value will pass? Suppose we are passing what, 15 comma, I'll pass the VDS. This is string 1, right? And now if we are creating another one, we'll pass the reference of this variable. See, we will pass nothing. What I'll pass? I'll pass here this C1 itself. Fine. And reference I'll be C2. See, there will be no problem at all. It will accept. So same value we have passed the same reference in the second constructor, in the second object. Okay, now C1 dot, if we are C1 dot display and same C2 dot display, it will provide the same value, because we have passed the same reference here. We are passing the same value, but the way is how we can passing the different is. So this is nothing but your copy constructor example. Execute this one. See, same value it is providing. Fine. So this is the first way, by using the constructor itself. Okay. Now without constructor, how we can copy the second one that we had discussed, by assigning the value. See, assign the value of one object into another one. Fine. So how we can do this one? Okay. So this is a very simple example I'll show here itself. Now I'll copy constructor 2. See, we can copy this one, copy and paste here. I'll paste here itself. See. So copy constructor 2, fine. Copy constructor 2. Now 2 is this one. Okay. So minimize this one. And now what I need to change? I'll not create the what? This time what I'll do? This constructor I need to remove. So where I have passed the first one, reference, first constructor, this I'll delete. Okay, the method would be same. This also I'll delete. The second object itself I remove here. What I need to do? I need to assign the value for one object to another object. Okay, so how we can do? We need nothing here. We can copy constructor 2 itself. See, copy constructor 2 C2. Okay, equals to what I can do? New copy constructor 2. Okay, fine. So this time what I'll do? This time I'll assign the same variable C. I'll assign the same variable what? C1, C2 dot ID equals to equals to what? C1.id. C1.id. Fine. And then C2.name equals to C1.name. We are assigning. Fine. So this is fine. Fine. Okay. Great. For this one, what I'll create, because this is giving the error, so I'll create one constructor, no argument constructor. Okay, so copy constructor to here, see, copy constructor to this one, nothing. Now, see, error gone. So now what, this way, it will give the same value. Here I'll change 16 and VDS tech. See, anyway, we have assigned the same variable to both references, both objects. Now, execute this one, see what happens. Same value, it is there. So there is different ways, by cloning the method, by using constructor. This is by using constructor. This is by assigning the object value. See, one into another one. This is also one of the simple way. This is also one of the simple way, right? So that's I can say, yeah, that's all we had discussed so far. We had discussed about the constructor, what is constructor, why we call constructor, how many types of constructor, what the modifier applicable for constructor itself, okay, and name of I mean, what is the rule of constructor, how we can create the constructor, what are parameterized constructor, what are the default constructor, and how the compiler will create constructor, how we can invoke the constructor. These things we have learned in this video. Okay, so thanks for watching the video. Thank you. Thanks a lot.